Okay, we'll get started. It's just past 11. So welcome everyone to this Searching with Confidence session. My name is Matt Lumpson. I'm part of the learning support team at the University of Adelaide Library. So just to let you know, this session is being recorded today. So we will send out the recording to everyone who registered for this session sometime after the session is finished. So if there's a lot of information to take in, so if you do miss some, you'll be able to refer back to the recording. We'll make that available a little bit later. Okay, just before we get started, just want to say we acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we gather on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present, and ongoing connection to the land and cultural beliefs. So basically, as I said, there's a fair bit to cover in this session. It's basically an introduction to using the library resources for searching. So we're going to go through what resources you'll need to find, how do you search for resources, how to find researchers using library search, which is the library catalogue, and also some tips for learning to search more effectively. And also, finally, just some tips about how to use Google to your advantage. Okay, so just a bit of an overview. The University Library has over 100,000 e-journals, so online journals, as well as over 900,000 ebooks. And also we have quite a substantial print collection, which consists of 1 million books. Not all of them are contained within the campus libraries. Some of them are in an off-site storage. So I guess the question is, how do you find resources from the library that you need for your studies? And also what sort of resources will you need for your studies? So the library contains a great many different varieties of resources. So just from standard print books and journals, we also have a lot of online textbooks. We have newspapers and reports, statistics and music scores, and basically the full range of resources you can think of that you might need for your study. Okay, so just a quick sort of introduction about searching effectively, and this is something you'll sort of uh, get more experience with as you proceed with your study. So basically, you'll generally get an assignment topic or an assignment question. So the first step of that is to identify keywords and terms and phrases within that topic. Then before you actually start searching, it's an idea to create a search strategy. So just sort of determine how you're going to search, where you're going to search, what sort of words you're going to use before you actually come to running the search, which is the next part of it. And then when you've run your search, when you've sort of come to a point where you've actually got some words to search for, when you're looking at your results, you may find that you're either getting too many or you're getting a lot of irrelevant results. So it's the next step is to refine and filter those results to try to find ones that are more relevant to your area of study. And this is it's never just a simple process. I should state from the start, it's not something you're going to perfect the first time you try it. So it is something that will require a lot of trial and error, a lot of practice before you start getting the results and before you get the confidence to search effectively. Okay, so just a couple of examples of assignment topics or assignment questions, and just sort of some ideas about how to identify the keywords within those. So often you'll get a full sentence as an assignment topic, and it's never a good idea to put all the words from a topic or an assignment question into a search engine, because you won't either get any results or you'll get a lot of irrelevant results. So what you need to do is to identify some key concepts and the keywords within the topic you're assigned. So in the case of this one, you'd want to look at things like sustainability and electric vehicles. You don't look at words like reference or principles or arguments as keywords. They won't assist your searching in any way. They'll in fact, they'll probably skew it to the point where you're getting irrelevant results. So just look at those key concepts within a search within an assignment topic. And again, with the second example there, so with that one, you'd look at the words like offensive speech as a phrase and regulation, and just ignoring words like should and subject as sort of irrelevant to your search strategy. And finally, the effect of food additives in children. You'd again look for a phrase like food additives and children as the key words in that, and ignoring again a word like affect or subject or reference. Those sort of words they won't get you any results when you're searching in a standard search engine. And also what you need to think of doing when you're identifying those keywords is thinking of alternative words to match those. So don't just think of sustainability as one word, because a lot of articles and resources you look at will use various words. They'll use different variations of those words, and they'll use synonyms for those words. So you need to be a bit more creative and think of other alternative variations of words that you're searching. So with the case of food additives, you want to think of things like preservatives or food coloring, things like that. And children, you could search for adolescents or young people. So just think a bit about some other ways you can those words and those terms can be expressed. Just a few search tips for your search strategy. When you're coming up with keywords, most search engines will search for a singular as well as plural and possessive. So you don't need to use every single variation for a word like oil. If you put in oil, it will search for the singular as well as the plural and possessive if it's appropriate in that. Phrase searching is another really key tip to use. So if you put in, say, the words like free and speech into a search engine, it's going to your results are going to come up with everything that contains those two words in any sort of order, in any sort of context within a resource. So it's if you put a phrase in quotation marks, so in that case, free speech, it will a search engine will find results containing that word as a phrase. So it will find only those words in that order, in the order you specify. So it's a really good way of narrowing your search and just defining how you want words to appear in your search. Okay, and there's also something called Boolean searching. So that's basically using words like and or, and also brackets. So if you've got if you want to narrow your search down a bit, if you're finding too many results and you want to sort of focus it a little bit more, use and. It's a way of combining your search terms so that you're narrowing it to find one set of search terms and another one. Whereas if you use or, that's a way of broadening your search. So you can you can use one set of terms or concepts or keywords or another set of concepts or keywords, and that will broaden your search. So you're finding either that one or the other. And also you can use brackets to combine those terms as well. In the case there, we've got in the brackets cat or dog, and diet or nutrition within brackets, and heart disease. So that's an example of putting together a search string using and as well as or within the brackets to both broaden the search in terms of what the focus is in terms of cat or dog and diet or nutrition, but also narrowing it in terms in the fact that you want the terms in the first set of brackets and the terms in the second set of brackets and that last phrase as well. So that's a very specific example of a search strategy there. There's also something called truncation, which is where you put an asterisk at the end of a word. So you can, for a word like child, you can use a stem word like that, and then put an asterisk in it, and a search engine will find every word that contains those initial words. So it'll find things like children, childhood, childlike, etc. And that works for pretty much every word that you put in. If it's a shortened word which has a lot of variations, like uh, I mean, there's a lot of examples you could use. You can put in the asterisks, and it will find basically every variation which begins with those with the word that you've entered there. A wildcard is slightly different. You can put that within a word where there's variations in spelling. So in the example there, flavor and flavor, bear in mind that there's a lot of the resources we keep some of them may have American spellings, American English spelling. Some of them may have British English, and that will determine whether there's an OU or an O, or just an OR, and also whether a word like organization, whether that's is spelled with an S or a Z. So, but using that question mark there is a good way of narrowing of uh, broadening your search so you don't have to type in every single variation of a word where there's differences in spelling. And again, with the case of woman, putting in the question mark in, we'll find examples containing woman as well as women. All right, I'm just going to show you a few examples here. So the University Library, this is the University Library homepage. This is where you'll find the library search engine. So library search, as I said earlier, is based on the gateway into the library catalog. So this is how you search for resources within that the library makes available to you as students. So just doing a very basic search. Okay, and I've just searched that not as a phrase, just as those two keywords. So you can see it's come up with over 200,000 results there for just that sort of search. So that's an example where you'd probably want to narrow it down a bit, and maybe search for it as a phrase if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for a textbook though, you can actually see that next to each entry, it'll actually give you a description of what sort of resource it is. So the first couple here are books. It will also tell you whether it's an online resource or whether it's physically located in the library. So some of them may be physically located on campus. Some of them may have a location of joint store, which is the off-site storage for material, and they can be requested. On the right-hand side, you can actually also narrow your search by if you just want to look for online resources or if you just want to look for books in the library. If you're looking for a particular resource type, if you just look for books, you can narrow it down there. You can see that there's only just over 11,000 results under books. And just to click on an example there, you can see that if you click on any of the results that come up in your list there, it'll give you further details about what that resource contains. It might give you contents, an overview of the book in terms of a summary, the subject matter, and also a link. If it's an online resource, that would give you the link to how to access it online. So just clicking on that will take you to the online resource. And you can also see who it's available to. So a book like this is available to everyone, all University of Adelaide staff and students. So you can access that with your student login details. Some of them may have a bit more of a limited access, so it may actually say that it's only available for 3 users at any one time. Yeah, well, it's determined by what sort of a license we have for those sort of books, and whether it's an expansive license or just a very restricted one. I can also show you there's an option to do an advanced search. Okay, so I'll use that as an example there. So I've used a couple of different variations of a common terms like bias or disinformation or something that's quite common these days, fake news. So that represents one line of my search. It's recommended you use the any field option there. So any field contains any of those three words, so disinformation or bias or fake news as a phrase. And then you can enter as many lines as you want. So the next line, and as in any field, and we'll say media or online news. And again, you could use any variations of media or online news, or if you wanted social media or things like that, you could add them as options as well. And I'll add a new line there as well. Actually, I won't. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so just searching at those two lines. Okay, so you can see that that's come up with quite a few results. It's over 160,000 results, but they will all contain any of these words in the first line and any of the words in the second line. So it's a very specific search, but it's also one that you can actually filter and refine even further to focus in on, say, particular types of resources or online resources only, or you could focus in on peer-reviewed journals, which are basically more scholarly resources. So there's a lot of ways you can refine your search, and you can also, another really good one if you want to sort of limit your search, is to change the date, because this has gone from 1801 up to 2025. So if you're looking for sort of very current resources, you'd want to adjust the date there. So we could bring that forward to say 2020 and click on refine. Okay, so that's reduced the results quite a bit there, back to just over 60,000. All right, so that's just a couple of examples there on how to use the library search. Again, it's a very, very brief introduction. If you do actually need some more help, the library staff are available to help you further with your searching for resources. Okay, so we also have as you get sort of further into your study, you'll probably want to branch out in terms of what sort of search engines that you're looking for. So you'll probably want to look at databases. These are a lot more specific search engines. Library search will get you a lot of resources, but that won't get you every single thing in the field of research you're in. So we do have over 400 databases that are accessible to students of the university. And as I said, as you get sort of more into your study, you'll probably be introduced to databases a lot more. We also have How Do I guides, which are basically self-help guides from provided by the university library. I'll show you at the end where you can find all these resources. They're all basically linked from the library homepage, but they're very useful if you want to sort of, oops, sorry, if you want to find some information to get yourself started before you come to us, these are good places to begin the How Do I guides. Okay, Google. So a lot of people do use Google, and it's not necessarily discouraged to use Google. It can actually be a way of finding some really good resources and material. But there are ways you can use it to your advantage to make your searching a lot more relevant to what you're doing, so you won't get so many rubbish or irrelevant results. So one new thing you could do is phrase searching. As I mentioned before, phrase searching works in Google as well. So rather than just putting in any sort of keywords into the Google search engine, put them in quotation marks, and that will focus your search a lot more to just that phrase you're looking for, as I described before. You can also exclude a term from your search results. So just putting a minus sign in front of the word that you want to exclude. So if you're looking for resources on, say, pandemics, but you didn't want anything about COVID, you wanted to look at results pre-COVID, just putting in the minus sign there next to the word will actually exclude everything that contains COVID. You can also search within a single website. So in this case, we've selected the United Nations .org website. So just putting in that site colon next to the website means that your results will just come from that website only. And again, we put in a phrase there. So searching using that search will find that phrase within just the UN website. Okay, you can also search within a specific domain if you want it to be a little bit more broad. So in this case, we've used the .gov.au website, or the Government of Australia websites. And again, it's just a site colon next to the domain. And in this case, we've used the phrase Aboriginal reconciliation. So we'll search for that phrase within any website that has that as a domain. So mostly government organizational websites. You can also search for a specific file type if you were just looking for, say, things that are available in a PDF. And again, it's just a matter of putting in file type with the colon and the desired file type. And again, in this case, it'll be social distancing as a phrase within that particular, as that particular file type that you've specified. And lastly, you can search for words just within a web page title. So if you have a very specific phrase you want to search for, but as a title of a website, you can just put in the words in title as one word and colon, and then the words that you want to search for within a Google web page, within a web page title. So in this case, it'll find civil rights in any sort of web page on the net. So those Google search tips are just a really good way of using Google to your advantage. We don't recommend you use just Google, but it is a good way of finding what's called grey literature. So it's stuff that's not published officially or published at all. It's been made available through the web. But there are still legitimate and scholarly resources you can find on the web that aren't necessarily just posted by anyone. So yeah, again, it's a good way to just refine your search using Google. All right, I'll show you the guide in a minute when I flick back to the web page. We have a page of Google support. As I mentioned, we have the How Do I guides as self-help guides. We also have some Library Essentials courses. Basically, this is a course to get you started. It's sort of probably a more expansive overview of what I'm going through today. It's a course that it's within my uni, so you can enroll in it and go through it at your however fast you want. At your own pace, and sort of come back to as well if you need to. It's got a lot of searching tips and how to find information and about getting started. We also have Library Bytes videos on the University Library YouTube channel. So they're worth checking out. They're just, again, self-help guides, very short videos that just focus on one particular aspect of using the library. Okay, and you can always contact us. We're available. The Ask Library help desk is on level 3 of the library. You can look for the people in the red uniforms, the red shirts. They're also available via phone, chat, and email. So absolutely come to us if you need any help. We can help you. I'll just quickly go back to the University Library webpage and show you. So again, back to the library homepage under library search, the databases by title and subject link is there. So that will take you directly to a page to search for databases specifically. The How Do I guides. As I said, these are self-help guides. They cover a couple of different categories in terms of developing essential skills, finding information. There's also stuff about referencing and managing information. There's subject pools for each of the main subject areas. And there's also a guide to using some of the more popular databases there. And the Google Smarter help page was within the Develop Essential Skills section there. Okay, under Library Services on the left there, just click on that and scroll down to the training page. As I said, this is where the Library Essentials Fundamental Information Skills sits. So if you wanted to enroll in that, it's just a matter of finding that and clicking on the link, and it'll take you to the My Uni enrollment page. And again, you enroll in it and work through it at your own pace. And just finally, if you do want to contact us again on the web page, just click on Ask Library, and that will give you the various channels through which you can contact the library. Okay, so we're pretty much out of time. That was basically what we wanted to go through today. If you've got any feedback, feel free to click on that QR code and let us know yeah, any sort of feedback you have on today's session. I know it was a very brief session, but I noticed there was a question in the Q&A about coming in late. We will send out the link. We're going to make this video, the recording of this session, available on our YouTube channel. We'll send out the link to all of the everyone who registered within the for this session. Okay, so if there's no further questions, again, as I said, feel free to come back and visit the library or contact us online any way you'd like to. And we're happy to help you. Okay, thanks very much for your time. We'll end the session now. Thank you.